Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Past Gas. This week we're talking about Buell motorcycles, a lesser-known but I would say pretty impactful brand in the world of American motorcycles, started by a man named Eric Buell. He worked for Harley Davidson, but he wanted to go racing on some pretty serious bikes that Harley just didn't want to build, so he started his own thing and eventually came back to Harley.
He brought his fuel and his tools, and he made some cool bikes.
That's right. So, without further ado, it's Buell Motorcycles. When you bring up American motorcycles, it's probably the Harley Davidson brand image that comes to mind. Cruisers and choppers, bobbers and baggers. These motorcycles bank on comfort and iconography. It's not so much about cutting-edge performance and innovative manufacturing, but bald eagles screeching freedom from straight pipes. But in the late 1980s, an underdog named Eric Buell wanted to redefine the American motorcycle scene, and he would leave Harley Davidson to do it, and come closer than anyone else to changing what the perception of American motorcycles could be. How did Eric Buell found a motorcycle company? And how did he shake up the industry? How was his relationship with Harley Davidson both key to his success, and what led to his demise? Well, today on Past Gas, it's Buell Motorcycles.
No, it's more like...
Yeah. Oh, that was pretty good.
Bart! What's up, dude?
Hey, Bart, you're back.
I'm back. Yeah, thanks
Hello.
for having me again.
You're
Good to
welcome.
be here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Look what Bart brought me today. The first thing he says, these are Peruvian pear cactuses.
Ooh.
Well, they're Peruvian cactus pears.
Yeah, they're
Name of
not
the
cactuses.
cactus is the Peruvian pear cactus.
So
they're Peruvian pear cactus pears.
do they come from a cactus?
They're from a cactus. Yeah, they have a pretty large, beautiful, edible
Peruvian
flower
cactus
that apparently tastes like
And-
passion fruit.
fruit.
They're more
dragon
like,
fruit.
more like a
Oh,
dragon
yeah.
fruit, kind of like apple texture.
Oh my God, these are
Pretty sweet.
these are it. Growing up, seeing images of like cactuses with fruit on them, I'm like, I bet that tastes real good.
Well, there's also
Prickly pear.
the prickly pear.
Prickly
Yeah.
pear.
That has a red meat inside.
Oh,
that you have
yeah,
to
this has
catch.
more of like a passion fruit inside, it looks like, based on these images. Or
I brought him in because Joe used to be
dragon
a
fruit.
chef. He's got a very culinary mind.
Dude, you could
when I
make
look
some
up
nice stuff
online,
with
like,
that.
what can I do with that?
Yeah.
The only answer is eat them.
There-
Well, I know that. Like, I want to know, like, what else?
That's hilarious. Oh yeah, prickly pear right there with the green outside. Maybe. My name is Nolan Sykes. This is Past Gas. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Of course, sitting across from me, Bart Bidlingmeyer. And with us, as always, with us on the show. Yeah. Look, I've had a long weekend. It's Joe Weber.
What's up,
Well,
Prickly
with
Pear
us
Nation?
includes the audience, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
with us, as
Okay.
always.
With us.
We.
Yeah. It's just like hanging out in your friend's garage listening to automotive history.
Yeah.
Your nerd
I've heard that
car
before.
friend
Yeah.
who just won't shut up.
I've had a long weekend.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
tell
got
us.
back from Baja,
Yeah.
Mexico. We were racing in the Nora 500 with our Ranger.
Out of all the things to go wrong, I didn't think you were going to go through 5 alternators.
We broke a lot of, we fried 5 alternators. We broke some suspension components. We tested our mental and physical strength. And we all came together closer as family, as a team.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great.
Is it a spoiler if you give us how you finished?
I feel like we're gonna hold on. I mean, we made it to Ensenada.
You
I'll
did
just say that.
You didn't like fully DNF.
No,
Okay.
no, we
cool.
did not. We made it. The truck survived, despite many comments on one of the recent Ranger videos saying that there's no chance we would. But we did, and that feels very good.
Hell yeah!
That is
Congrats, dude.
500's a long way.
It was crazy, dude. It was I'm a different person now. Yeah.
You could have just taken a plane.
Yeah, that'd probably be easier, less stress. No, but it was a really, really cool event. Nora puts on it was just great. Everyone there in the Nora organization was really, really awesome. And I can't wait for that video to come out. I want it to be like 90 minutes. So much stuff went down.
That's
so much
awesome.
stuff broke. So much stuff went wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
We should let
It
that
was
edit
really
You should
breathe.
do it.
Yeah.
Let it do a 3-part docuseries. 1 hour each.
That'd be cool.
You have it narrated.
I think it should be all one big video because, longer videos on YouTube tend to, I think, just do better rather than separate parts if we were to do something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, I mean, like, make it each part.
I know.
It'd still be 90 minutes.
I know, but have you ever seen, like, on YouTube, you get suggested, like, a 6-hour documentary, quote unquote, on, like, the history of iCarly. And you're like, why does this need to be 6 hours long? But it has like 19 million views because people will treat it almost like an audiobook where they listen to it, Yeah. So maybe it doesn't need to be 6 hours, I think. I think that'd be a lot for like racing, but like an hour and a half feature length for this video is what we're kind of aiming for.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, we were not ready. I mean, we were as ready as we thought we would be, but then there's this like mentally though, I think when it comes to something like Baja, the only way you'll ever be ready is by going through it and experiencing what it is.
That's fun. I wish to experience it one day for myself.
It was cool, dude. Yeah. Well, we have a really capable truck. It's fast as hell.
Yeah.
It drives amazing. So we are definitely going to be doing another event with it.
Sick.
Maybe, next year.
I went to an event this weekend. I went to the IMSA, the last IMSA race of the season called Petit Le Mans. At Road Atlanta. It was a 10-hour endurance race, and there were 4 classes racing. And we're already going long, but I want to tell you one funny anecdote. We were just kind of loafing around, doing some man on the street interviewing with. Our goal was to try to find the drunkest fans, and what we didn't realize is like it's a 10-hour race. People pace themselves with liquor.
Yeah, it's not like Talladega in NASCAR. Yeah, it's
also a different type of racing. Like prototype racing, people are a little bit more nerdy. I will say that.
Yes.
So we were walking back to the media center, and we get in the elevator, or we press the elevator button. It opens like it had just closed, and it like we caught it, whatever, and it was packed. And we're like, oh, we'll catch next one. They're like, no, come in, cram in, it's fine. We get in there, it's like silent, but it smells like sweat and champagne. We're like looking around, and we see 2 guys in the corner, full racing suits, holding first place trophies.
Oh, it's sick.
And they were like, oh, Donut Media. They recognized us.
What?
And it
really?
was the GT4 class had just finished.
Okay.
And the winners from the Brian Herta Autosport Hyundai team were in the elevator with us. These dudes, Mason Filippi and Mark Wilkins.
Nice.
And they were like, oh, and we were like, we should do an interview. We had, chatted up, and then they were like, yeah, we got to do this press conference first. But then cool, man. Like, as we got off, he was like, here, take my hat.
What?
And so he gave me the winning hat. It smells like champagne and sweat. And I just want to thank the dudes, Mason and Mark.
That's cool.
Congrats,
they gave
guys.
you the hat, man.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Luck that they were the drunkest guys at the event.
No, right.
How fortunate.
Yeah. But yeah. So you also brought going back to Baja. You also brought some Baja snacks for us to review.
Before we begin our Buell story, let's try some more road trip snacks.
Yeah.
This is Gabe Flores turned me on to these. Our cameraman / drone
they're
operator.
already open.
They're already open. I was eating these on the way back yesterday. But these are...
How is that not surprising?
Because they're delicious.
I'm surprised there's some left.
They're Belonettes.
Yeah.
I assume that's how you pronounce that. These are a sweet candy with tahine on the inside.
Is that ball? Polone means ball, right?
Probably.
Sabor a tamarindo.
Yeah.
Or squishy.
Sabor y tamarindo.
It has the flavor of tamarind.
Yeah.
I wonder what that meant, though. Okay.
Yeah. So these are...
Well,
none of the pieces are like uniform in shape, which I think is pretty cool. There's a lot of variety.
You give me more. That is good.
Yeah, they are really good.
Get more of that.
Heat comes in
Here.
This is what I want with...
more.
I'm good for now.
Okay.
These are what I want with...
Mike and Ike's?
No, what are the little fruit ones? The everyone knows the banana ones for some reason. Runts?
Runts, yeah.
Yeah.
These are what I want runts to be.
These are great.
Uh-huh.
These are great.
They're really great.
Next time I'm down there, I'm getting a shit ton of them.
Yeah. They're awesome because...
Holy shit, they're so good.
They're like sweet, but because of that tamarind, kind of a little spicy.
And a little salty too.
Yeah, a little sweet, little like sweet and savory.
Hats off to
You
Gabe for
you can eat a ton of these and not feel disgusting like with other candy.
It looked disgusting.
They do not. That was my next point with the non-uniform shape. When you first open it, you're like, huh. But then you know what? They're so good, you don't even care.
Yeah,
that's great.
Here, Shin, try some of these.
Shin, get in on this, dude.
Yeah.
Cameraman Shin.
And it's just the right amount. You know,
Shin,
sometimes
Shin is a sugar fiend, dude. When Shin, so sometimes on shoots, our producer will be like, "Get your Starbucks orders in," and it'll be like black coffee,
5
cortado, Americano, and it'll be like whatever, like pumpkin spice latte with 7 pumps. And we're like, "Who is that?" And it's a Trante too, like the 30-ounce one.
They have Trantes. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you, man.
What do you think? Yeah, Shin's liking those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really good.
These are good. A lot of I think like a lot of times the stuff that we get here that's like ooh and spicy, it's like a gimmick.
I know.
You know what I mean?
The ghost pepper shit at Wendy's is like not spicy at all.
But this is like the flavor of the spice works. With the flavor
it's
of the
so
candy
good.
instead of just throwing a bunch.
I feel like Mexican food really figured out the balance between sweet, salty, and spicy.
It was I mean, really good candy.
How many
Amazing.
did you go through on the?
I had a bag during day 1 of the race when we were waiting in the pits, and then I ate most of those yesterday on the way back. So they're so good. All right, so before we begin with Buell, Joe, you have a little background with Buell.
A little background. I grew up in Milwaukee, and home to Harley Davidson, who ended up owning Buell at some point. And I was never like a Hayabusa guy when I was a teenager. I didn't have the poster of the Hayabusa or whatever. I always wanted a Buell because I saw a lot of them in Milwaukee. And I think it was, actually, I don't know how affordable it was, but I saw enough that I was like, oh, it must be a good alternative to like a Yamaha sport bike or something. But that's the only history I have with it, other than being connected to the city where they were made.
That's good enough for me.
Nice.
That's a good connection. I like that. I always forget that. Yeah, Milwaukee, the Harley connection there.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the history of Buell motorcycles. Eric Buell was born in Pennsylvania in 1950. He was drawn to motorcycles at an early age and was constantly wrenching on them and looking for things to improve. When the time came to decide on what he wanted to do with his life, there was no question. He began racing professionally and working in motorcycle shops, and even enrolled in an engineering program at the University of Pittsburgh. Buell went on to work for Harley Davidson after graduating in 1979 to pursue a career in motorcycle engineering. But for Buell, Harley wasn't ideal. He was admittedly, quote, not a Harley kind of guy. But at the time, Harley was the only avenue to pursue motorcycle engineering work in America. Founded in 1903 and incorporated in 1907, Harley Davidson is easily recognizable as one of the oldest motorcycle brands in the industry. Harley motorcycles rose up to fame through their use by the U.S. military against Mexican revolutionary Pancho Villa and during both World Wars. They were able to solidify their presence with service members who would fondly remember the time they spent in the saddle of their wartime models and help kickstart the post-war rise of motorcycle clubs. And if you'd like to know more about that, you can check out our 4-part series on the Hells Angels that we did back in 2020.
We also did an episode on Harley Davidson.
Oh, yeah, we did that too. But I wanted to make a joke about how long that series was.
Yeah. Was it only 4? Because I remember it being like 27 parts.
It was only 4. It was a long one, though.
It starts with the invention of the wheel. Or invention of the bicycle.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Were there Hell's Angels on bicycles?
No, it was the post-war boom.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The other day I was in the car and there was like 4 kids just in a neighborhood like taking
doing wheelies on their big wheel bikes. Yeah.
And I said something like, I don't know, it was probably a bike gang.
Yeah,
and my kid was like, "What's a bike gang?" I'm like, all right. I mean, this isn't really a bike gang, but and then
there is a.
Then I just played your 4-part series.
Yeah, there's a bike gang in my neighborhood, and they do the wheelies and then like cut in front of you in your car.
Are they like a bicycle biking or the?
Yeah, bicycle.
Yes.
So they do
I've seen that.
in the middle of the road. They'll do a wheelie, and then just like dip out of your way in the last second. And you're like, you kids.
Yep.
You kids.
Young punks.
By the end of the 1940s, Harley Davidson had made themselves as American as baseball, apple pie, and fireworks on the 4th of July. But around the time that Eric showed up, Harley was facing serious problems. By the 60s and 70s, their models were seen as lacking in innovation, and the company as a whole was stagnating or resting on past success. To complicate matters, a huge and new influx of bikes from foreign manufacturers like BMW, Honda, Kawasaki, and Yamaha made the flaws in Harley Davidson even more apparent to those paying attention.
Yeah, wasn't it that like bowling lane company that bought them? AMG or what's it called? AMF.
AMF.
Yeah. In 1969, AMF, American Machine and Foundry, bought Harley, and I think they just kind of messed it up. You know, they like corporatized and bureaucratized a bunch of the process.
Yeah, and they also had they were mixing tequila and whiskey and vodka together all day.
Well, they were also doing things with that's a bowling lane thing.
AMF.
Yeah. Oh,
you never had an AMF?
No.
Oh, yeah. It's basically what I just described.
Okay, I just thought you said. I thought you were thinking that's just what you drink at a
Yeah,
bowling
no.
alley. It's just.
I mean,
but
I guess so.
They also did stuff where they were working with other companies and Italian companies and trying to, like, when you get a legacy brand like Harley Davidson, it's make Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think they diluted stuff in a lot of weird ways.
They also, I'm just reading this during that era, they got a bunch of bad nicknames like Hardly Abelson,
Okay.
Hardly Drivable, and Hogley Ferguson. That's where the name Hog comes from, though.
What?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Hog is
What?
ugly. Okay.
But then they took that back
right.
and named
they
it
owned
Harley Owners Group.
Oh, interesting. That's wow. Today I learned.
Hogley Ferguson.
Hogley
Control the narrative. Yeah.
Hogley.
All right.
In 1976, Harley established Project Nova in an attempt to look ahead to the future of the brand and innovate in an effort to rid the brand of its stagnant reputation. The project would focus on a new line of liquid-cooled engines focused on high performance, and in the end, it proved too ambitious for just their in-house engineers to accomplish, and Harley ended up collaborating with Porsche to help get the job done.
Oh, I did not know this.
When I think of it, water-cooled, I go right to Porsche.
Especially in the 70s.
That's right. Good for them. Good move.
It was shaping up to be something special, this collaboration, and a great starting point for the company to broaden its horizons and set the tone for the future. Unfortunately, the project was ultimately killed in favor of another engine project that was developed concurrently with the Nova, named the Evo.
I just love the idea that you're working with Porsche on a water-cooled engine.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they're like, what about if air-cooled? And then that's what they got.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a more traditional 45-degree air-cooled engine that replaced the aging shovelhead engine.
Okay.
So while Evo can be credited with saving Harley from bankruptcy, it reaffirmed the company's commitment to tradition over innovation, which brings us back to Eric Buell. Eric was making the most of his time at Harley and was a valuable asset. His experience as a street bike and motocross racer gave him a practical, real-world approach to engineering that his peers without a racing background didn't have. But after Project Nova was axed, Eric started to look elsewhere.
In 1982, the FXR was released, having utilized some of Project Nova's DNA to offer a more sport-oriented bike. Buell, who had provided consultation and redesign on the project, found leadership decisions at Harley grating. He nevertheless continued his work. Nevertheless, he persisted. Isn't that what Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah, it's about men.
He's like the Elizabeth Warren of Harley at this time.
Okay.
During this time, Buell was still racing, and his Yamaha race bike was starting to show its age, while also not being a particularly what?
It's saying he'd go to work, he'd ride up to his office in his Yamaha at Harley Davidson, and people are like, dude, it's not a good look.
Hey, man.
You
get a free Harley by working here. Why don't you ride that?
That is interesting. I think in manufacturing though, like I think there are certain companies that kind of like encourage that. Like trying out the competition.
Like if you're working for Mattel, you're not going to drive a Hot Wheels. You're going to drive an actual car.
Yeah. You're going to drive a Barbie car.
Full-size car.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So he decided to employ a very small British manufacturer by the name of Barton to provide him with his new race bike, a 750cc two-stroke. That's a big race bike. Holy shit. That would be, dude. The bike had problems, notably being the unreliability of the engine and poor material quality in some parts. Buell decided to redesign parts of the engine himself and ended up with a full custom build he affectionately named the Road Warrior 750cc. The Road Warrior was fast. It made an insane 165 horsepower at the output shaft while weighing only 304 pounds, making it the perfect bike for racing in the AMA Formula One race class. That is too much power. I mean, a Hayabusa makes 200 horsepower. It's probably more weight than 304
it's a heavy
pounds.
bike. Yeah.
Another roadblock came up in late 1982 when Buell learned that Barton would be going out of business. Not wanting to go back to racing another production bike, he decided to go all in, and a deal was made where he bought the company, all of its stock, and IP rights.
Wow.
Buell would go to his superiors at Harley after working on the Barton engines for the better part of a year, and in '84 tried to convince them to invest and make the Road Warrior part of the HD lineup. However, the test did not go as planned, and after the engine seized during one test, Harley decided to pass on the investment.
I would love this would be a great movie, but a comedy.
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
this is my big pitch.
Yep.
Yeah, preparing. I wore a suit today, a leather suit because it's Harley. Buell truly believed in what he was doing and felt that if he had more time to devote to the bikes, he could get them where he wanted to. So in 1983, he decided to leave Harley and go all in on himself.
At this point, I'm in my head, I'm thinking like, was he married?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 84 and he was 34.
34.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's what but I'm saying like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he wasn't. And that's when you get to do whatever you want.
I know.
Continue.
That's the one thing of like having a kid where you see your friends like go all in on stand up or something. You know, it's like, I don't want to do that, but I would love to have the option.
Buell Motorcycles got off to a rocky but decent start. Reliability problems would crop up in test bikes, but Eric was diligent in constantly tweaking and improving where he could. By the end of 1984, the company had made its first sale. In the spring of '85, the American Motorcyclist Association, or AMA, announced that it was discontinuing the Formula One moto race class in favor of the growing superbike class.
If we can go back, that first motorcycle was the RW 750, and it was a Grand Prix motorcycle for racing in the AMA Formula One race class. And that was their first sale.
That was the Buell
It
one?
wasn't like, it wasn't like a Harley street bike.
Right.
It's kind of like a prototype.
Yeah, but what they had worked on their prototype so long that finally they could sell one, and it became a race car.
Gotcha.
Bike.
Using the using the Barton framework.
Overnight, the RW 750 bikes were made irrelevant as they were built specifically for Formula One. Buell was forced to go back to the drawing board and decided upon making a road bike. If Buell Motorcycles can make a road bike and build 50 of them, they couldn't completely be banned by the AMA. To do so in such a quick turnaround time, though, he utilized his connections over at Harley Davidson. To Buell's advantage, the initial parting had been on good terms, so much so that when he initially left, Harley said they would consider it as a leave of absence for 6 months in case he decided to come back. Even though he didn't, the gesture spoke to the amicable nature of the relationship when Buell needed engines for their new road bike. Buell was able to secure a total of 50 XR1000 engines from Harley that were destined for the scrapyard.
I do remember reading, like when we did the Harley episode, the XR 750, like ripped in racing. It was like such a good bike. Big thanks to Yamaha for sponsoring this podcast. Life's an adventure. Time to let more people in on the fun and share the journey. Introducing Yamaha's latest terrain-conquering side-by-side that combines class-leading power with maximum comfort and versatility. The all-new Wolverine R-Max 4 1000 has ample room for 4 adult passengers, plus plenty of cargo space so you can tackle new terrain, expand your horizons, and go further than ever before. Side-by-sides are so fun, and Yamaha is so reliable. If you like doing outdoors stuff, this is such a fun vehicle for you and your family. Like I said, it can fit up to 4 full adults. That's you and 3 of your boys, or your wife and her friends. It's so fun, so go to your Yamaha dealership, test drive one of these things. You're not going to regret it. Experience its capability at YamahaMotorsports.com and see your local dealer today. Always protect the environment and wear your seatbelt, helmet, eye protection, and protective clothing. Read the owner's manual and product warning labels before operation. Thanks, Yamaha.
Harley gave Buell 47 of them, and he required to buy only the last 3. These engines were the foundation of Buell's 1985 RR1000 Battle Twin.
That's a sick name.
Yeah, Battle Twin.
Dude, imagine you're in a medieval battle and then like 2 twins come out
battle twin
with broadswords.
Yeah, and they're like tied together.
Yeah.
Making a superhuman.
You think that's where they got the idea?
Yeah.
Is what we're saying.
Yeah.
This is a historical. Good. Well, now it's in the record.
That's right.
This is a sick bike, though.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
Utilizing his experience in previous projects, the RR1000 had a stress member engine like Project Nova for weight saving, meaning that it was part of the frame. The engine was like part of the structure of the chassis. It had rubber mounting to reduce vibrations from the Harley engine, like in the FXR, and a trellis frame like in his RW750 race bike. This thing sounds sick. After showcasing the prototypes in 1987, interest was high. Buell was actually snuck onto a Bahamas-bound cruise ship that was intended as a company retreat for Harley execs by Harley dealer Devin Batley, who believed in Eric's bikes. By the time they reached port, over 20 dealers and CEO Von Beals were on board.
Like a virus.
Yeah.
But it's selling bikes.
Yeah, exactly like that.
That's what happens on cruise ships.
Yep, selling bikes and having diarrhea. Yep. The plan was to utilize Harley's support without actually calling the bike Harley's, as a sport bike range could potentially have a negative impact on the Harley purists that the company was continuing to court with lifestyle marketing and merchandise.
No, we ride slow, we got saddlebags, and we rev our engines when you don't give us enough berth on the highway.
Also when you're trying to sleep.
Yes. Yeah. The motorcycles would firmly be Buell branded, with Harley providing financial support as well as manufacturing and branding to better sell the bikes. So there you go.
I do remember when we did the Hells Angels episode, we were like scared that Hells Angels were going to come after us.
Yeah, we were. We were. I was afraid. Dude, look, that was in 2020.
Yeah.
And the next day, you saw a gang of Hells Angels blasting the podcast from the speakers as they do.
I would love that. That'd be sick. But no, I mean, I don't know. I think I was kind of just insulated inside my 1-bedroom apartment.
Everything was scary then.
It was scary. I was paranoid. Yeah. I was like, they're going to come after us. And
you became like an engine whisperer in that room. Without turning his head, a car would drive by and you'd go, that's an EG Civic.
Yeah.
That's a VQ.
I got to know my neighbors pretty well. Yeah.
The first bike produced after this understanding with Harley was the RR1200 Battle Twin. The general public reception, though positive, seemed to be wanting something a little bit more oriented for the streets. So not as aggressive, not fully horizontal when you're riding it. In 1989, Buell released an alternate version of the RR1200 called the RS1200 that got rid of some of the RR's egregious body fairings for a more street-oriented appearance, which would become known as Buell's distinctive design. I gotta check this thing out.
No, it's something between a race bike and a road bike. Like, it's pretty cool.
I could see this coexisting with the 80s ninjas for sure.
Oh, I thought you meant like samurai that would ride it, like ninjas would ride this bike.
Well, if you think about it, they're kind of like modern day samurais, right? That work at the T-Mobile
80s,
store.
Very 80s design.
I've never seen one.
And you check this out. Something I like on the rear there, you see that hinge, that back part, like there's the seat and the little butt stop for your butt.
Seam,
the seam that goes up if you need a passenger.
Oh, that's sick.
neat.
It'd be terrifying to ride on, like fully off the back wheel.
Yeah.
On that. After the first run of the RS 1200, Buell continued to upgrade its bikes with things like 5-speed transmissions, stainless steel brake lines, and upgraded 6-piston calipers. The 6-piston, that's a lot of braking power. By 1993,
bike.
Yeah, it is.
We're looking at pictures of people riding this. It's a lot of bike.
Yeah. By 1993, Harley was impressed enough with the performance of the Buell that they decided to make an offer and integrate him with Harley even further, and purchased a 49% interest in the company. The increased investment from Harley meant lower production costs for Buell, which could then sell their motorcycles for less. This looked good on the outside, but on the inside, a different story was unfolding. Eric was very keen on the deal, but others weren't so sure. Before the paperwork was signed, even Buell's attorney argued against signing the contract, saying that it amounted to indentured servitude thanks to proposed budgets and other clauses making Harley's investment less risky. So geared towards Harley not losing a lot if this investment didn't work out. Buell's house was even in the contract as collateral. What?
I don't know about that, dude.
That's shady.
Was he not under like an LLC or something?
Maybe there wasn't enough equity in the LLC to like cover the.
I mean, that's the whole reason
liability.
you do that, though, is so that you can't go after your house and shit like that.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I think, this is a deal with Buell. And so he's like, where can I get the capital collateral?
I guess.
So it's great. I believe in it. Here's my house, too.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I also think it's funny to think of Harley Davidson being like, and then we'll take your house. Like, what? You're like, what? How much money you guys?
Yeah.
How much is this house worth?
Yeah.
Like, that seems mean.
What are you going to do with it after you get my house?
And we'll turn it into a motorcycle. You can't even do that. You can't do that to a house.
We're going to hang out there.
Yeah.
We got a
Yeah.
game room.
We're going to make all the stairs ramps for motorcycles.
cave.
Yeah.
You
We're
got a
gonna have-
furnished basement? Oh, hell yeah, dude.
There's going to be a lot of diamond plate. And this reminds me of the story of Beats headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever looked into that at all?
No.
So Monster audio cables.
Yeah. I
Like
remember those.
some of the most expensive XLR instrument cables you could buy.
They were like overpriced.
They had like gold plating on them too. They're definitely overpriced, but they're well made. And no one's ever going to pay $100 for an instrument cable unless money is no object to you. But the guy who built that company, audiophile, he wanted the best sound possible. His son took over and kind of spearheaded this deal with Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine from who wanted to make a headphone company that turned into Beats.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't know the son didn't know anything about contracts and just wanted to be cool and be like, I'm talking to Dr. Dre. He's trying to make a headphone company with me. And they just reamed him, dude, with a contract. He signed this thing that Monster Cable was on the hook for developing these headphones, and they spent $50 million developing Beats headphones.
Whoa.
And then there was some clause in the contract that was like, you're not
Then it's
after
ours.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were on the hook for all the research and development. Then Dr.
Wow.
Dre and Jimmy basically just took 100% of the profits. And it kind of made Monster go under.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
No
anyways,
idea.
it's a really good, interesting video if you ever want to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not Donut, I'm not gonna watch it. All right,
No,
so
check it out. That's crazy.
And that's how they got into energy drinks.
Eric Buell was still 100% on this contract, and he wouldn't budge. And his attorney had him sign a letter stating that the law firm that represented him had strongly advised against the deal. But in the end, Buell signed both.
Wow.
Over the next few years, the Buell Motorcycle Company would continue to produce more street-oriented bikes under the Harley brand, with lauded designs like the S1 Lightning in 1996, which seemed to sit comfortably as what we would now classify as a naked bike. It's the first time I'm hearing
So
that.
basically like a race bike without the plastic fairing.
Like an
on it.
external frame.
Well, yeah, like it's a racing bike without the fairing. So it's
Okay.
like easy, like less, crazy looking on the street.
Yeah.
typically like more straight handlebars on it rather, so you can pitch the bike in traffic and whatever. Maybe not that. That might not be why. Like not like racing handlebars. It's a more comfortable bike, but it still has the capabilities of a racing bike.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very popular segment today.
With new innovations and models came increasing sales, which were much better than they were expected to meet. The S2 sold over 1,400 units in its first year, over 4 times the projected sales. That's a low bar, though. Just be like, we're going to sell 300 bikes this year. I hope it happens.
Yeah, but if you're coming from Harley Davidson, you're like, it's not Harley.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell it.
Yeah. That's true.
It's pretty good.
Such numbers were enticing to execs, and Harley decided to further buy out the company in 1998, becoming a majority shareholder, officially making BMC a subsidiary of Harley. By all accounts, both Harley and Buell were pretty happy with their arrangement coming into the new millennium. With sales and spirits high, Harley decided to tap Buell for some new horizons, and they looked to conquer the beginner bike market, something that the Japanese manufacturers had a long-standing history of dominating.
Mm-hmm.
Enter
Buell,
the Buell Blaster. Enter
What?
the Buell Blast.
Okay.
Harley was dominating the existing market. However, the then CEO of Harley, Jeff Bluestein, was looking to expand the market by getting more people onto motorcycles. Harley had their own riding school for outreach, and the purpose of a beginner bike was to get a Harley customer for life and stay within the orange and black brand lineup throughout their riding career.
Gotcha. Okay.
The Buell Blast was an entry bike with a single cylinder that basically was a chopped Evo engine with scratch-resistant fenders and a belt drive to eliminate the need for chain maintenance. So that's pretty smart. A little beginner bike, get them hooked on the Harleys.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, lack of chain maintenance. I'm pretty sure Harleys also have a belt drive system. So that keeps costs down too. They don't have to design like a new drivetrain. Seems like a pretty good idea. A beginner bike from Buell. Let's see if it works out for him.
I bet it will.
Harley then dictated that Buell would be working on a new project that was going to be the XB series. Like so many Buell bikes before it, the XB9 Firebolt was innovative. Its, quote, gas tank was actually the airbox, and the actual fuel tank was part of the frame. This bike was a success, which gave Buell the runway to spearhead a project he had long been badgering the heads of Harley for, a liquid-cooled motorcycle. Finally.
Yes!
Yeah, dude, you get it. This guy gets it.
Eric was granted permission to develop the project, but there were several catches.
You couldn't work with Porsche.
The Buell Motorcycle Company would be responsible for paying for an outside engine from its own internal funds, and the bike wouldn't have a full fairing, so it wasn't seen as direct competition to Japanese contemporaries. The development of what would become the 1125R was plagued by cost overruns, confusion between their European engine supplier Rotax, and inflation hitting the dollar when compared to the euro. They came in way over budget. Like most Buells, though, the bike was critically acclaimed, but ultimately a financial burden to the company. And with another looming disaster for the motorcycle world just around the corner, the writing was on the wall for Buell.
I wonder what the disaster around the corner is.
The recession of 2008 hit Harley particularly
Joke's
hard.
on you, my house is worth nothing, Harley. Yeah! Housing crash, bitches! I win!
And the company was facing bankruptcy before securing a $600 million loan from Warren Buffett in February of 2009. There was also a major leadership turnover, and Harley's new brass was looking to, quote, cut the fat and tighten the budgets wherever possible.
Well, luckily, with Harley owners, there's a lot of fat to cut.
Rude.
Keith Wendell, infamously not a motorcyclist, became the new CEO of Harley and was immediately hostile to the Buell brand. In one of his first speeches to employees, he questioned why the company even owned Buell in the first place. He then turned to deriding sport bikes overall, calling Buell's racing program, quote, Eric's hobby.
That's lame, dude.
It's also true. It was his hobby. It was his passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, not fair
They're
because
making,
he
like,
doesn't even know that
$1,400
he doesn't know that Buell worked for Harley. It sounds like he doesn't know the relationship between Buell and Harley Davidson.
This is a tale as old as time. A CEO coming in and not understanding the brand,
Yeah.
wanting to make waves right away and whip their cock out.
Who does this guy think he is? Carlos Ghosn? An internal group was formed within Harley management where the consensus was they either could invest more in Buell and racing for what they saw a limited return potential for profit, or go all in on more traditionally Harley cruisers for a much more lucrative profit pool. Their decision on proceeding was clear, but the next step was to determine what to do with Buell. The selling of Buell Motorcycle Company was immediately dismissed, as Harley didn't want any competitors having access to Buell dealerships. Integrating the company into Harley Davidson dealers was also ruled out, possibly because of the choice to focus on traditional cruisers and that, quote, Harley customer that is its own stereotype would not be receptive to the brand doing so. What does that mean?
Well, they're saying like, so there are some Buell dealerships, there's some Harley dealerships, and they're like, well, what do we do with this Buell brand? We're not going to sell it. So, but they're also like, we're not going to make Harley dealerships carry Buell.
Yeah.
Because then those customers who want Harleys are going to be like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like when Dodge and Mitsubishi teamed up, people were like, well, I thought it was a Dodge. What is this car doing here? You know?
Therefore, the decision was made to kill the company.
No.
The move was approved by the Harley board in October of 2009. But the company also wanted to retain good, talented people and fold them into Harley, with Buell himself being the top target. When Buell heard of Harley's plan, he got on the phone with Bombardier, who is the owner of Rotax, the engine supplier they had worked with for the 1125R, and tried to make a deal for any Buell assets he could. Bombardier was receptive to what Buell was telling them, but before any deals could be finalized, Harley pulled Buell assets from sale and decided to destroy the prototypes instead.
God. This seems vindictive.
Should have known when he took his house.
Should have made air cooled.
Eric worked on securing his departure from the company and eventually was able to have a severance package that granted him the rights to Buell racing projects, parts, and designs, though he couldn't use the name Buell Motorcycle Company or produce any street bikes until 2011. This led to the creation of Eric Buell Racing, or EBR, in late 2009, which is a whole other saga with its own twists and turns that we're not going to get into today, unfortunately. But suffice to say, though EBR still exists as an entity today, the only ties it has to its founder is in its name.
As for the man himself, Eric founded an e-bike company named Fuel, like Buell, but with an F.
Two L's,
Yeah, that has two L's.
Yeah, in 2019. According to Buell, while he was still with Harley, he had advocated for research into electric vehicles, and they had him compile a report of where the industry stood regarding EV bikes. His report concluded that batteries and range hamstrung the bikes at the time, but he feels like they're worth pushing now, especially for commuters. I mean, Harley did come out with an
electric motorcycle, the Livewire.
Yeah. And I remember, did you ever see that, like, Ewan McGregor thing where he rode up from Patagonia to Los Angeles on Livewire?
Yeah. Was it a Livewire?
And they had Rivians as support vehicles, and it was like a huge pain in the ass because Patagonia was super cold and the batteries, like, they got like 20% of what the battery is capable of. But then they went into like the desert and the batteries were overheating. Like, they're going through these tiny towns of like 100 people and like trying to find an electrical outlet to charge. And
like, everybody turn off turn everything
your
off.
Kettles. Yeah.
Wow.
I did not see that.
It's really good. Despite all their BS. It's not BS. Despite all their hardships.
Bullshit. All that Ewan McGregor thinks he's so handsome.
He is so handsome, dude. Buell motorcycles were able to push the envelope, and the potential of the brand has left the motorcycle world constantly asking, what if? What if Harley hadn't decided to pull the plug on Project Nova? What if they had given Buell a better budget? What if Bombardier had secured Buell's designs and prototypes? Given what Buell did with a limited budget and support, he may have revolutionized the industry with proper support.
Maybe.
These days, the American moto scene is still slow to innovate, but Buell's offerings did lead to lasting impacts even at Harley. They dipped their toes into exploring the adventure touring market, developed models more sport-oriented than their traditional cruisers, and even famously produced their first electric motorcycle. All this can be seen as a lasting influence Eric Buell had on the industry. While cruisers and baggers are and will continue to be Harley's bread and butter, we can thank Buell Motorcycles for diversifying the American bike scene and hope Buell's legacy is one someone will decide to build upon.
I was curious as to what he looked like, and
Yeah.
you look at one picture of him, you're like, okay, yeah, this guy likes going fast. He's got a face that looks like it goes fast.
Oh, wow.
There's
Like
just
kind of pinched?
No, I don't mean like weird looking. I just mean like you look at him, you're like, oh, there's a certain racer look,
Mhm.
and he's got it.
where you can see that there's, I'm trying to think how to say it. It's like, if something happens to me, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a weird look with
Yeah,
people who have that.
yeah.
Just as an aside on Buell's, I know it says like they're not doing anything anymore, and he did fuel.
They're
Yeah.
back.
Fuel.
Well, in 2017, there's a pretty sick Black Lightning motorcycle. In 2020, they made their first dirt bike in collaboration with the Chapala race team, and they won the AMA Hill Climb National Championship.
Dude, this Black Lightning bike is sick.
Doesn't it
It's
look
like
awesome?
a cafe racer.
Yep.
Whoa, the tailpipes. Mama hama.
2022, they made the Buell Hammerhead,
Yeah.
the fastest production sport bike built in the USA.
What?
Yeah, Buell is back. There is a new wave of Buell motorcycles coming. The Hammerhead that you
Grand
mentioned.
Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, it's interesting. So they have an 1125 cc motor that they put in all these different chassis made for different things. I was watching some videos earlier this morning about it. It's a really fast bike, the Hammerhead 1125.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if he's actually involved.
Okay.
One sec. So this is from rideapart.com. Buell Motorcycle in 2021. Buell Motorcycles is officially back, but this time without Eric Buell at the helm.
Okay. It did say, what was the deal when he left, right? He had so many years, right?
He
Yeah,
couldn't
They
do
must have
anything.
11.
sold the name.
Yeah.
They must have just still owned, Harley. I'm just
see.
conjecture. I don't know if we can look it up, but it sounds like Harley still owned all of his IP except for, that's what they worked
Yeah,
out
they
in the deal.
purposefully blocked him from
So
buying it
Eric
back.
started
Right.
Eric Buell Racing.
Right. So he left Harley, started the racing team, made parts for bikes, for race bikes
It
under
sounds
his own
like
name.
EB,
And then
yeah.
it sounds like the
EBR, Eric Buell Racing, went insolvent at some point, and then a venture capitalist firm bought those assets, and I think started this company, Buell.
and then would start.
It
Buell,
sounds
now
like
then
that's
Harley.
the case.
Got it.
Yeah, the company acquired the rights to Buell brand in 2020. Formal announcement. Yeah, so yeah, he has nothing to do with this
Sure.
new company. But dude, it does sound like the bike is pretty sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're making sick. If you want to talk about a legacy, they're making pretty sick stuff.
Interesting. So we'll see if this works out.
Jeez, 185 horsepower at 10,600 RPM.
Yeah, it sounds like a
It's
real
no
ripper.
Dodge Tomahawk.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Wow. So that's the story there, and it's ongoing without Eric Buell, but we'll see if the new iteration survives.
Yeah.
Joe, we've got some listener mail.
Dang right, we got some mail. Hi, guys. Damien from Australia here. I'm a shift worker, and the pod gets me through me long-ass shifts. Also love the YouTube channel. I've been listening for the last year or so, from oldest to newest. I've just listened to the Holden versus Ford episode. You guys mentioned a town called Orange in New South Wales, Australia. I lived there for 29 years, and it was definitely weird hearing you guys mention it. Yes, I live 45 km away from the Bathurst race most of my life.
Nice.
Keep up the great work, guys. Love listening to the gold coming out your mouth.
Thanks.
He actually, I think it says Austria. So
Yeah.
no, it's
I would love to hear about the company Lada, in particular the Niva, or even a pod on amphibious cars. Cheers, lad. That was Damien from Australia.
Thanks,
Thank you, Damien.
Thank you, man.
I would also
Appreciate
like to hear about Lada.
You can make that happen. you could do that. Thank you guys so much for listening. Bart, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks again for having me, as always, guys.
Follow Bids Bardo on Instagram. Get updates from Bart's life.
I'll start giving updates.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
It has. Follow Joe at Joe G. Weber. Follow me at Nolan J. Sykes. Big thank you to Shin today for operating all these cameras.
One-man army,
and
Shin
recording.
Lewis.
And we will see you next week on Past Gas.
Oh, yeah. And big thanks to Mike Moore, who we work with. I'll thank you in the lunchroom after this.
Yeah.
And I will see you next week.
Bye.